And here's where I failed. I failed because I violated one of the biggest rules with RVing. Here we go, heading out, about to hit the road. I should be at the border within about an hour, and I expect it's going to start raining soon because of course, and I expect no problems at the border. So in about 4 hours I'll be in Bellingham, Washington. I'll get into my RV spot, and then I'll be able to go out and go shopping, be able to clear out and de-winterize the trailer, fill it up with water, sanitize it, and get ready to go, because tomorrow morning I'll be doing a long drive through Washington and into Oregon. Well, here we are, day one where I go on the road. I'm about to leave my house this morning, but before I leave the house, I'm gonna grab this crawler over here, and I'm gonna go underneath the RV, and I'm gonna go look at all the bolts and shake the suspension and make sure that everything's as tight as it should be. I won't be going through with a torque wrench underneath because I haven't got all the torque specs for everything just yet, but at the very least, you should go through before a big trip and roll underneath the entire RV and check every last bolt to make sure that it's solid. You don't see anything loose, anything that needs tightening. That's what we're gonna do now. This is what people are talking about with the Kurt suspension. I thought, no, mine's not loose. I would have heard it by now. But now if I look, I mean, it's not like the other examples, but there's definitely some give in there. I guess you can't quite see. Let me see if I can. Right there. See, that seems like there's too much give in there. And where's that? That's the back shock here. Call it the finger guillotine. And it's hailing. Yeah, still got to load the truck with that. I'm waiting. Well, that was fun. Thanks for the nice icy layer for my departure. Bye, honey.
Bye, have fun.
Best thing to do if you're going to the States is to take out the US dollars before you go. All right, we're gonna do cash withdrawal. We're gonna do US dollars. And we're gonna do $400 US. Wait till you see how many Canadian dollars it takes to make that happen. All right, that's good. Look at that. Ouch, 560 Canadian dollars. So I got the cash. Canadian dollars are always less than US dollars, but I got 400. One last stop before I leave Canada, Tim Hortons.
My son wanted pop. I thought he wanted milk, and I just take it.
Okay, we're getting pretty close here. I'm heading to the border right now. This is day one of my trip. Thought I'd give a little commentary on two things. One, the general things I do when I'm crossing the border, and two, the unique qualities of being a dual citizen. I'm a citizen of the United States and Canada. I carry two passports. So my experience is different than someone who's coming into the country as a guest in either direction. So as far as, I'll take number two first. As far as how do I deal with it as a dual citizen, it's pretty simple. When you go into the country that you have a passport for, you show them the passport for that country. So when I go to the United States, I show them my US passport. When I come back home, I show them my Canadian passport. I don't show them both at the same time. That can be confusing and is generally considered a faux pas. So when you cross the border, choose the passport wisely and stick to it. Don't be switching passports or offering both. And that's how I deal with having two passports. As far as crossing the border, you know, I I'm not doing anything wrong, so I'm generally, you know, viscerally not too worried about it. But it's always a little nerve-wracking crossing the border, right? They can go through all your stuff. I think my biggest fear really is that they want to go through everything, and then I've got to repack and reorganize everything. I've got a lot of bags in here I haven't really unpacked yet. I just moved all the bags into the trailer. One thing I've learned to do is if I have any dog food or any nuts or anything, I put it right here in my back seat so that I can open the window and just either he can look or I can get out and show the handful of dog food items. They're pretty good about most things. You can bring a lot of things across the border, but one thing you can't bring, I believe it's lamb in dog food, is one of the things that's banned. So I always make sure that none of my dog foods have lamb in it. So I've got some wet food and some dry food, and then I've got some granola that I buy locally because it's just a real big part of my diet. I really love this granola, and when I'm gone, I always miss it, so I like to add a little to my yogurt. So I brought one bag of this granola sealed, and again, I looked through the nuts and seeds. I didn't see anything that was banned on the list, so we'll see what happens, but I always make sure it's right here. One of the early times I drove across with my RV, I didn't realize that was a problem. My dog food was in a Costco container, like I'd already emptied the bag into this Costco container. It was a full bag of food too. I was coming down for 6 weeks. And when I hit the border, he asked me, do you have any dog food? I says, yep, I got some in the back. He goes, does it have any lamb in it? I go, yeah, I don't know. He goes, do you have the original packaging? I said, no, I don't. I poured it out. So I ended up having to go and pull in for the secondary, and some agricultural workers went through and searched my RV very respectfully. Great, it's hailing again. They were very respectful, didn't make a mess or anything. And then they found the dog food. I told them where it was. They removed it. They checked the other dog treats. Those were all clean. And then they basically just confiscated my Costco bag of dog food. It sucked. It was probably, $35-40 of food. But yeah, I learned my lesson. So now I only bring the food in its original containers. I do not move it to any Ziplocs or anything like that. I try to limit what I bring so I can limit the conversation. Dog food, I like to keep my dog on the same diet, so I'd like to just bring the same dog food across. But as far as all the rest of the food, yeah, I'm just going to go shop when I get across the border. There's a great selection in the States. I kind of miss shopping in the States, so I like to fill up my RV with stateside shopping, and so I'm not bringing that much. What else? I bring my rabies certificate for my dogs. I bring, I make sure to have the registration out. Sometimes they want to know the license plate numbers. I keep an itinerary. I usually have an itinerary that I print out for my own use, but I make sure to bring it and make sure the destination address is on there. Sometimes they want to know what your destination is. And so I generally bring more paperwork than they're going to need. Another thing I do is, my wife has to take different prescription medication. And so on this trip, she's not with me. Now, God forbid, should she have dropped some medication down on the side of the seat and it gets found or something. So before I go across the border, I always go and wash the car and then do a vacuuming and just make sure there's no random pills or something stupid that I'm not going to realize until I get across the border and they're searching. So any pills I have in my truck right now are my pills with my prescription name on it. So that's about it. When you go through the border, don't joke. Be respectful, very respectful, almost like the highest level of respect you can generate. Don't offer up more information than they ask. Number one, they're not there for a conversation. And number two, you may open some can of worms that you didn't intend. So answer the questions honestly. Well, these folks at the border, they have one job to do, and that's basically to figure out who the heck is lying. So if there's one piece of advice that I would say take away above all else from this video is do not lie at the border. You're just going to get yourself in trouble. Sure, people get away with it. I don't think it's worth it. I make a point to have all of my ducks in a row so I can answer all the questions honestly. I don't know how people do it, but I'm certainly not going to look these guys in the eyes and start lying to them. I don't have the chops. So, be respectful at the border. No joking unless they make a joke. And then, the more cordial they are, the more you can be. But follow their lead. I've had some get very, very social. I've had others where it's all business. So that's about it. I'm now about 2 miles from the border. I think maybe even a mile here. So just about to hit the border. And I swear, I'm not going to move the camera around because I'm driving. But it's like this hail and the line of clouds stops right at the border. So That's kind of funny. All right, well, that's it. That's my 2 cents on crossing the border. And by the way, I should also say this. You know, weed is legal on both sides of the borders in most states, especially up here on the west side. So under no circumstances, no matter how legal it is where you are, do not take cannabis across the border. Ever. 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 You can simply get it on both sides. There's no reason to bring cannabis across the border. You're just asking for trouble. They often ask that one explicitly lately. So, yeah, leave that stuff at home, all right? Okay, that's about it, everybody. Take care. I'm going to America. Made it through the border. No problems. Another respectful guard. Thank you. One of the first things I always do when I come to the States is I stop at my mailbox and get all my American mail, because I still maintain an American identity, American credit cards, and all that. So it's always my first stop. And it's nothing but junk. And then right across from my mailbox is this Mexican carniceria and restaurant. And I always stop here because Canada and Mexican food just doesn't quite cut it. So now I'm at the mall because I'm gonna go and get a SIM card from Verizon so I don't use my Canadian account for a whole month. It's just simply a lot cheaper to pay here than it is to pay $12 a day to operate my Canadian phone in America. Oh, Lizzie, we're here. Yep, you can see we are here at the Bellingham RV Park. It's quite a nice park. It's a little tight in the spots, but it's always got a nice, you know, clean park kind of feel. They've got a real friendly office, and I've stayed here before. Here we go. And I'll tell you what, I'm happy to report that I just put the slide out in the trailer, and I didn't see any water. I drove through like 6 inches of slush. I drove through rain, very driving rain. And so far, I haven't seen any leaks in the trailer. So fingers crossed, this might be fixed. When we look, very cold. Oh, it's getting there. It's getting there. So you guys have probably seen this posted on Facebook. It's by one of my colleagues here who tries to help out with a lot of additional tech details. He went through and got all the torque specs for this particular hitch, which is exactly like the one that I have, because he found that some of the bolts were loose when he went to hitch up. Now, I did have to run, so I kind of checked, you know, visually checked and tightened that they were all very tight before I headed the, 50 kilometers down here to Bellingham. But now, before I go on the next big leg of my trip, I'm going to go ahead and try to torque these right now. Let's do it. And here's where I failed. I failed because I violated one of the biggest rules with RVing, is don't go travel unless you have a socket for each bolt on your RV. Now, I haven't gone through and updated my new kit that I have for this RV, which is this kit right here. And so now I can't actually tighten these because I only go up to 11/16, not 3/4. For you Canadians, that's called standard, and it's a really weird way of doing millimeters. But anyway, I need to now go and buy a 3/4 inch. I also need to get a 1 7/8 socket for this monster. Basically, all of these, I need to go and size these up and make sure I have them, because I don't have them. Now, off to the cat scale. So now I have my RV unhooked. I've settled into the spot, and I've got my truck here without the trailer. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a base weight of how much it weighs with all the stuff in it. Now, I already got the weight of it empty, so I've got that baseline. Now I'm gonna get a baseline of the truck without the trailer on it. And then I'm gonna go and do this again with the trailer in the next day or so. And then I'll be able to discern all the axle weights, and I'll be able to deduce what the hitch weight is between the two different weighing sessions. I'll show you here in a minute, but let's go ahead and get it weighed. I'm gonna use the app. It's the first time I've ever used it, so we'll see how it works. All right, let's go and weigh this. Let's see how this works. see there's a bunch of markings on the weight, so I'm guessing each of those are various sections. So you just need to get your different axles onto the different sections, and then you get a weight, I think. Find out. All right, so I'm driving on the scale now. I'm gonna roll up until I got my wheels across. Here we go. I believe I'm on 2 different sets of the scale now. Let's see what happens. 13 bucks. Kablamo. Just for you guys, 13 bucks. Don't forget to subscribe and like, because you know I spend money on this. All right, waiting for Weighmaster authorization. Processing payment. Boom, and I got my axle weight. So you can see here at the cat scale, I have one wheel on the other side of the yellow line, and then that wheel there. And then you can see there's a whole series of mini scales. So once you get your truck or trailer situated on here, it just takes a snapshot of each axle all at once. So now that I've got the trailer set up and I've gone and got the truck weighed, my last step here is to load up with food. And so I'm gonna start off here at the Whole Foods and then go pick up from other places, whatever they don't have here. So here we go. And Lizzie says, why are we here?